Hello. In this video, now we've worked out a little bit about how we can move our servo arm here. We're now going to think about how we can turn this into something a little bit more fun than just a moving arm here. What I've done is I have used actually the box that the breadboard came in, and I have created a dial for the front of this box. So what I've got here is I've just used a large plate to draw around, and I have set my servo into the centre of this circle, and I've drawn some segments around here. I've drawn 6 segments through my 180-degree turn of my arm, but you could divide this up into as many different segments as you like. What you'll need then is a little piece of paper or card. You can see that I've just quickly put some masking tape at the top and the bottom, which means that I can easily change this design if I want to switch it over to something else. And I've used a pencil and a ruler, and you could use a protractor to mark off each of these. Once I've put this in place, then I have just drawn around the edge of my servo in pencil, and I've used a sharp craft knife to cut through. You can see on the inside of my box here, I've just used a little bit more masking tape, and I've just pushed it up from the underneath here and stuck it in place. The wires, as you can see, can just come out the side of the box. You can make a little hole for them to come through. So actually this box stands up quite nicely. So this is a nice little display. If you don't want to cut into your existing box, if you want to return it all in one piece, then any old bit of cardboard will do. I'm sure you all get online deliveries from time to time. There should be some cardboard around which you can use. Now, as for what we can do with this, well, what we're going to do is, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to create a game which moves this arm at random. And now it's completely up to you what kind of design you put on the front of this. One suggestion from one of my students was that it would be a snackometer. So you could choose, which snack am I going to have? Oh, I'm feeling a bit peckish, and I'm going to set my dial so that when I press a button on my Pico breadboard, it's going to move at random to one of my 6 choices of snacks. I wonder what your top 6 snacks would be. Maybe you've only got 3 or 4 that you want to put in there. Maybe it could be a mood indicator to help your family know what kind of mood you're in, in which case you might not want to do it at random. You might want to use the buttons on your Pico breadboard to say, well, if I press button 1, that means I'm happy. You may approach. If I press button 2, then the arrow is going to move to well, caution. I'm not quite sure how I'm feeling right now. Could go either way. Maybe button 3 is like absolutely don't approach me. I'm in a very bad mood. Give me loads of space. And button 4 might ironically be something like, oh, I'm asleep, or I'm not even here. That would be funny, wouldn't it? A bit of a paradox in that button. So you could set the buttons alternatively to control your servo, and we will look at how to do that in a moment. But firstly, we're going to use this random library to move our dial at random. So here we go. So I've just got the buttons in the top corner there. We're not going to use them right now, but I'm going to run this code that we were using before. And you can see that my 0, my 90 and my 180 degrees are all fairly well aligned on my board here. So it might be that you need to take off your arm and just reset it. It'll take a little bit of fiddling to get all of this in the positions that you want, because then the next thing to do is to think about which positions you would like your arm to go to. Firstly, we're going to assume that we don't mind and we're happy for it to go to anywhere at random between 0 and 180 degrees. So there is, funnily enough, a library called random. And from this library, I'm going to import a function which has been abbreviated to randint. It means random integer. This is going to help us to pick a number at random between 0 and 180. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change my code slightly. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my move to 0, and I'm going to put that before my loop here. I don't necessarily need to print 0 degrees, but I may as well. This is now just going to reset my servo. So wherever I finished, whenever I pressed stop previously, this is going to make sure that I'm starting in the 0 degree position. Now what I'm going to do is, instead of in here moving to 3 separate places, I'm just going to do it once because I'm going to do a random number. So what I need to do is I need to, rather than hard coding this in as a 0 or a 90 or whatever it is, I need to create a variable amount. Let's just call it angle. Now, how do I work out what angle is? Well, it is going to be a random integer that I have picked between the minimum value of 0 and the maximum value of 180. So that is going to give me the opportunity to maybe be at 0 degrees still, maybe be all the way up at 180. And now instead of printing 0 degrees, I can print angle degrees. And that is then going to show me what the number is that has been chosen. So let's see what happens. We've started off at 0. That's 29, back to 0. As it happens, 160, 50, 158, 43, 33, 143, 143 again, 90, 88, and so on. So you can see that sometimes the arm doesn't move very far. They're very, very similar. Some of them are actually identical. Some of them are the same. That's what it means to be truly at random. So our arm is now moving at random, and it would be a really fun thing just to practice with this code and just to see how many times maybe the same number comes up, or see what the range is, see whether it moves in the way that you expect. Then what you can do is you can just work a little bit on your design of your box and your chart here, your scale. What are you going to have on your scale? And I would love to see how imaginative and how artistic some of you might be. If you would just like to do something really simple, then you could do something like a bit of a magic 8 ball, where you just have yes, no, or maybe, and you ask questions. And for that, we'll probably want to program in pressing of a button to then make the arrow move. So if you fancy that, if you just want to keep it nice and simple, then create a nice simple dial with yes and no and maybe in the middle, and then come back into the next video to watch how we set this up with a button press.